My name is Dr. Dianne. I am a mom, wife, clinical psychologist, and coach to the modern mama. My passion is to help modern moms step into their true potential and reinvent themselves so they can live a life they absolutely love. I truly believe that every mom's journey is unique, and I want to inspire moms to own their journey and know it's possible to thrive. Together, I want us to reinvent motherhood. So this is why I'm so excited to bring you this series. Each week, I will spotlight a new mom who I believe embodies the reinvented mom. These women's motherhood journeys are all beautifully different, and they all agreed to share their insights and best advice with all of you to own your own too. So sit back, listen, watch, and enjoy. My name is Dr. All right, welcome back to the Reinventing Motherhood Spotlight series. I am so excited to be bringing you Miss Kari. Kari and I met through the San Diego Mom Squad through a wonderful virtual Mom's Night In during this crazy pandemic. And automatically I was drawn to just her overwhelming contagious energy. She is just an incredibly authentic person, and I am so excited for her to just share her motherhood journey and also what her and I align on with what keeps us going, and that's fitness. So without further ado, Miss Kari, please tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Well, hello, and thank you for that introduction. I'm very honored to be here. As you guys know, my name is Kari. I am a mother of 3. So I have a daughter who is 7, and I have twin boys. They just turned 5. That's a fun adventure for any moms of multiples out there. It is extremely fulfilling, but also very tiring.
Yeah.
We are very happy that we made the 5-year-old mark. I am married to my wonderful husband, Anthony. He is my rock. This sounds so, it's such a stereotype, saying, but he is the yin to my yang. Like we are opposites attract, but we definitely help complete one another. I'm so glad that he's my partner in life through all of this.
I love that. No, you know what though? I hear it, but I don't hear it in the context of what you're talking about. Usually like there's some kind of like friction and we're trying to make it work and whatnot. And when you talk about like your marriage and even in the group in the Facebook group with the moms, you're so real about it, where exactly what you were talking about, kind of that balance that you guys have for each other, and it sounds like it works so beautifully. So I'm so excited to hear more about just like parenthood. What's that been like for you, motherhood, from going from the 1 to the 3 automatically, like you said, with the multiple.
Right. Well, and for me, so with my daughter, I was a working mom. I worked full time out in San Diego with a publishing company, and I loved my job, loved everything about it. I'm a planner. I've got that A-type personality, with a little bit of OCD mixed in there. And so yes, I planned out my children and for my pregnancy as best as I could within a range, but like, okay, if I don't get pregnant by March, I really don't want to have a December baby. So then, I was that kind of planner.
I love
it. So I was working with her, and when I got pregnant the second time, we had planned for that. We had a daycare lined up. We were ready to go. And I think it was about 14 or 15 weeks in, when you go in for the NST testing, where they measure the baby's back and make sure there's no abnormalities and stuff. When I went in for that is when I found out I was having twins. So my world was flipped upside down, and then I had to find daycares, because now you need a daycare that's going to take it. So my sister-in-law, sorry, this is so long. She was extremely helpful with my daughter. She helped out in Escondido, so living in Oceanside, working in San Diego. But my sister-in-law in Escondido, we would drop off my daughter, and then we would carpool out to work, because he would drop me off. My work was closer, and then he would go the next exit or two. Our works were fairly close. And that worked out for years, and that was great. But then again, you're having twins. Okay, so what the plan was to send my daughter to more of a preschool and have the kids, the newborn baby, go with my sister-in-law. She has a set of twins herself. They are much older.
Friends in the family.
5 or 6 years older.
Mm-hmm.
And so but she was homeschooling her children. And she was okay taking one newborn, but she knew what twins entailed and was
Mm-hmm.
very open and honest with us and said, I can't sign up for something like this, which I totally respect and understand. She's got to focus on her growing children. So that's when I tried to find daycares, and doing all the math, we found out 3 under 3 just doesn't make sense financially.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it was a very hard decision for me because truthfully, I planned on being a working mom forever. I loved my job. I loved it. I didn't want to leave. And that was kind of a hard pill to swallow. So adjusting to motherhood, especially going from the one where we would be, it was like a 7 to 7 thing, 12 hours.
Yeah.
I didn't have her, we only had the weekend. So
you had a flow.
Yeah, we had a flow, definitely. And then we were going from one, but on the weekends where I had my partner in life, to 3 all by myself.
Oh my gosh.
5 days a week while he's still commuting to work and gone 11 hours a day.
Yeah.
And that was an adjustment. It was, again, in the beginning.
What was that
very,
adjustment
very
like?
hard,
What do you think were the most challenging aspects of that shift? Because obviously when you're a working mom, you're still splitting time. You're doing lots of different things, right? But then, like you're talking about, I think one thing with kids is that, or at least how I've experienced it, is that at least with work, there's some sense of predictability. With kids, you kind of have some, but really no. And so, you mix in that perfectionistic, like planning aspect. And so what was challenging for you, and how did you do it? How are you doing it?
Challenging.
Yeah.
And it still is, because I'm still that OCD perfectionist type of mentality. So honestly, that shift for me, I'm so grateful. I had my parents in the beginning. They were a big, huge help. And my mother-in-law, I had family. That was great. But once you're left alone after that 2-month, new babiness, that's kind of when I had to sit down and do what I knew was going to be what works well for me. So at work, I had a schedule. I had a plan. To your point, there's this predictability about it, right? So it's, when your breaks are, your lunches are. Now, obviously with kids, it's not going to be as structured. There has to be some, fluid movement in it. But yes, I had treated it like, and I still do, I treat it like a job. That's the way my mindset works, though. That's how I was able to wrap my head around it. That doesn't work for everybody. A lot of people can go with the flow. And if you can, kudos. I wish I could.
Yeah.
But I had to be very, very structured. So I knew, okay, we had morning time, we had, lunchtime, and then I had to fill in spots in between what I was going to do, if it was play dates or learning, and kind of pick up those pieces myself. And a big part of it was fitness for my own mental sanity.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so when you were talking about like the schedule, I think that is, at least for most moms that I've even seen as clients, there's this aspect of being able to go with the flow. And yet I think that there always still needs to be some level of skeleton outline, some container that you can move within and out and like make flexible whatever is going on. But I think that in terms of for health of yourself as a mom, but then also health of the kids, that sense of predictability is actually really good for their development. It gives them, it starts to really create that foundation for them going forward in life, just like we're talking about. Once you get into the world where school, with work, when they get older, all of those things, building that foundation for them is actually extremely critical, as well as what you're talking about, this like the flexibility within it. So not being so rigid, but again, like I think of it as just like having this rough outline at least, so that there's some sense of, okay, this is what's coming, and we don't have to feel like we're just kind of blowing in the wind all the time.
Exactly. And especially when they were really, really little, like when they were young and still doing the naps, we lived and died by nap time. Like those were hard and fast. Exactly. Because if you skip it, it's not worth it in the end. Like I'm okay saying no. Now I'm in the stage where I'm past the naps, and so I have a little bit more flexibility in it. But I was definitely the person who was like, oh, nope, that starts at 5. Sorry, we're in bath. We have bedtime. Like we tried a couple times to go outside of that. Maybe by 30 minutes max, we could push the limit. But as babies, in order for us to sleep, for my mental sanity, my marriage, my self-care, and to be able to get pulled in all those different directions, that's what I needed to
let me ask, because I think that that's such a that is a unique quality, I will say. More often than not, the no and the being able to kind of set that boundary for yourself is something that I know that many moms struggle with. You know, there's this like tug and pull between what everybody else is hoping you're going to do and feeling some sense of guilt, you know, that you hear that all the time with moms. And so for you, how were you able to really commit to, you're really talking so much about like self-care and like the boundaries that you set for yourself, really making sure that your marriage was staying good, making sure that your mental health and your physical health was being good, like really attended to. How do you think that you were able to stay grounded in that?
Oh, for me personally, it's been kind of this year by year long. It continues to grow. I continue to learn. I'm very big in believing like we never, ever, ever stop learning. So I am always open-minded to people who have tricks and tips that may help me, or, you know, so it's listening for those, but it kind of goes back to my foundation, at least with my husband, in the sense that this is something we talked about from the beginning. Before kids were even a thing, I think even before we were engaged, we had talked about what was important to us, the moral, you know, all that stuff that you normally talk about. But also me pointing out, or us in our relationship deciding that we wanted to have, you know, date nights still to keep a marriage healthy. We wanted to do this. We wanted to do that. And so now having kids, we had to reevaluate. Okay, let's be realistic. So we can't do the monthly dates that we were doing that at one point, because now that we're up to 3 kiddos, it's getting harder to get a babysitter to watch. So let's adjust. Can we do breakfast time? Can we drop them off with grandma and we could go for brunch instead? Or even if we just drop them off, and have our day at our own house in silence.
Totally.
That's kind of a big deal too. Even if we're cooking for ourselves, we're not tending to anybody else's needs but our own. And so I've been very blessed with having somebody who understands that and is very supportive, and vice versa, even when it comes to our own time, whether it's with friends or just for myself. And a lot of the times when they're younger, it involves more time with just you, because right now we are living in a global pandemic. And so, we have to kind of be, but I always have my friends there, thank goodness for technology. And I'm able to keep touch that way. So as they're getting older again, I'm able to say, oh, hey, my windows have opened up a little bit more. Now I want to venture out here and have more girl time, or whatever it be. But it all started with conversation, and you just kind of have to keep it flowing.
Totally. You know, that really stood out to me, because I think one of the missing pieces, I think, that doesn't actually happen is having those conversations before you have kids. And, you know, as much as I think that it's what we should be doing, I just don't think that it's something that's top of mind all the time. I know, admittedly, like my husband and I didn't have those conversations. And going into our first child, I feel like it was a pretty big shift for us, trying to figure out like how all of this works, especially going from, you know, exactly what you're talking about, having so much independence and being able to go on dates whenever we wanted, midweek, like, yes, we're staying up, we're going to wherever we wanted, all those things.
It didn't even matter.
Didn't matter. And what I even tell my clients, and what I had to come to realization for myself and my husband, was anytime we had to just have the conversation. And so at some point, even if like you're kind of all over the place now we actually do have that conversation. Okay, let's reassess this. Let's reassess what's important to us. Like, how are we going to incorporate that in? And what you were talking about, again, it goes back to that flexibility. Like, date nights now are defined differently. And I'm fine with that. You know, I'm totally fine with that. Date night for us, we actually really appreciate day dates, because for us, day dates are, we get time for ourselves. We get time to come home and be with the boys, and we're not out like crazy late, and knowing that the kids are going to get up in the morning at the same time, right? So
no matter what.
no matter what, right? And so finding those little kind of moments to appreciate, like you're talking about silence at the home, like being able to cook whatever we want and we're not toggling or being interrupted with conversation, whatever those unpredictable moments are, it's really nice. And so we've really cherished a lot of that. The other is, you know, as you were talking about, as the kids are getting older, I think that's something to always remember is that like time shifts as well. So I think when we're in the thick of it, when we have the newborns and it's like those early stages and they're not as independent in so many ways, it can feel like it's going to go on forever. And I think now having older, and I only have a 5 and a 7-year-old, but like now having older kids, I'm like, I can look back at that time and be like, okay, it's not, it gets easier. It does. Like it gets easier in its own way. It shifts, right?
Kind of hard. Yeah.
But time is given back in its own way. And so I have to always remember that as they get older, that time is going to shift and then my time's going to shift and I'm going to get, my time is going to be back with however I want it to be. I want to talk about the fitness aspect because I think that that's another really, really huge one that I know and you and I really connected on.
Yes.
And so, especially as we're talking about like all these crazy schedules and how it can be a little bit unpredictable. One thing that I really appreciated about you was, you know, you have your group Fierce that I want you to be able to talk about, but you always advocate for these like small pockets of time where you're like, whatever you can get in your videos, you've got your kid running around. And so talk to us about Fierce fitness and how that like really is incorporated into your busy life.
Thank you. Yes. Fitness, I will say, has not always been at the top of my mind. I mean, for my mom, I've had a great role model. My mom was always into it and did home workouts and stuff. But you know, when you're a kid, you just kind of do it for 10 seconds and you're like, woohoo, that's fun. And I'm sure at the time, it's like when a kid first learns to wash dishes, where you're like standing there like, oh, okay, like having a heart attack half the time and kind of in the way, and it takes twice as long. So now I see my mother's frustration and have to call and apologize quite a few times actually. But it was never something I was crazy passionate about until actually my daughter was born about 7 years ago. And I just wanted to live that health. Now I just understood. Becoming a mom somehow helped me understand that it's healthy all the way around, for your mind, your body, your soul, for everything. So I created this group, Fierce, thank you. And it stands for Fitness, Inspiration, Rejuvenation, Commitment, and Empowerment. And I try to just combine all the things that I am extremely passionate about and what I want to share with the world. Whoever wants it, it's free. It's out there. I'm not trying to do anything from this. I just needed accountability for myself and for other people, whether you're a mom or not, are passionate about it and you wanted to join, hop on in. So it started off really small, just as to your point, an accountability group. And before I redid my garage, I was showing what my workouts were. So I am very much about pockets of time. I try to aim for a minimum of 20 minutes and maximum I'll go about 35, 40. But that has changed as my kids have changed, you know. So when they were babies, it looked very different. When they were little, a lot of it was squeezing it in the beginning into their nap times. So if they had a nap time, I would get myself kind of prepped before. I basically live in workout clothes 100% of the time. And so when that time came and they went down for the nap, I would, okay, quick, get my workout in. As they're getting older, it is a little bit easier, but that middle toddler stage, my little trick, just for moms out there who are in that like, ooh, tough 1.5, 3-year-old where they can still kind of get into trouble. And you want to keep them there. This is how I did it for a really long time. I would keep all electronic devices, TVs, whatever their favorite show was, away. So my whole thing, I would get up with them in the morning. TV never came on. It was breakfast. It was entertainment with mom. It was, I mean, I would go hard with them for a good couple hours. Lunch comes around. I would put lunch down and I turn on the TV.
Ah, there you
And
go.
it's their favorite show, and I'm guaranteed 20 minutes
Zero it
because they're
in.
zoned. Yes.
Yep.
And that's exactly how I
Yep.
did it for a really, really long time. But that did cause, it made me plan and schedule. Like I had to, I write my own workouts, but for a lot of people, they could look it up online, just know what you're going to be doing that next day.
Yeah.
And having that mindset, okay, my kid always eats around 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, whatever your time is, wherever your time frame is, or maybe you do want to do it first thing in the morning. So you are able to, okay, I'm going to utilize that first thing in the morning and put that on while they eat breakfast so I could get that done.
Yep.
Some people choose to wake up earlier. When I was a working mom, I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning and worked out. Yeah. That's what I had to do to get it, because it was that important to me. I am very much about life is about balance and also consistency. So coming off for a day or two isn't the end of the world. Eating that cupcake isn't going to kill you. But, you know, for the most part, you got to try to, it's all about balance. And it's a hard thing to find, but those were my little tips and tricks and why it was so important for me.
I think between the balance and, for me, at least with the fitness aspect, is, again, I think that the theme of today is flexibility, because for me, I would wake up early in the morning. I still do. I wake up, mine is 4 a.m. with my hope that I'm able to work out by 4:30, because I have my cup of coffee. 4:30, I at least have like 30 to an hour of flex time of whatever I need to do for working out, because I usually will do a little bit of cardio. But then I started really liking Tabata, which I know that you do a lot of like high fitness, like HIIT type of workouts. And those ones for me have become a lot more daily routine, because it's just so much shorter and so much more effective, at least for me. But in terms of flexibility, so mine was the morning time. If a kid woke up for some reason earlier than normal, I'm throwing them in front of the TV and I'm finishing my workout, but I'm with them. And so, you know, we have our gym stuff downstairs, like next to the TV area. So they're just working out right next to me most of the time. And it's gotten to the point now, though, that my kids know me so well that sometimes they'll just participate in it. And so I've got my youngest, my 5-year-old, is like, okay, mom, he'll turn off the TV and be like, it's time to work out. And he's got these like little 2-pound weights that he's like, it's just, sometimes you'll see like my little videos with him and he'll be like doing his little squats and whatnot. And so, but the flexibility, you know, either he's going to work out with me, I'm fine with stopping and starting 50 million times if that's what I need to do to get it in, because I same with you, it's so important for me. It's something that I put as a high priority on my list, just because it makes me feel good. It has nothing to do with like, this is an absolute. It's just, this is part of my self-care. This is important to me. I'm going to put it in where it makes sense. And sometimes it's not going to make sense, and that's okay too. I'm not going to get down on myself for it. So
exactly. Yeah. It's a mindset thing for me. Absolutely. Like if I'm feeling extremely stressed out, and I knew I haven't got my workout in, I will be like, okay, mom needs to plan it. And again, with the kids getting older, the beauty is, to your point, they do see it. And I love, it makes me so happy when kids work out. Now, I will be, admittedly, the perfectionist in me in the beginning was a little like, hey, this is my time. No, I need to concentrate. Like I put all the snacks down, you know, and I've had to adjust and learn to be a little bit more like, no, this is a good, healthy thing I want them to be into. And I need to be more open and receptive. And yes, of course, get strong, build your muscles, you know, whatever this, because for my son, that's what it is. I want to build muscles.
Yeah. I've got the 2 boys. That's how they are. They're
exactly. And I think it's adorable. But in the beginning, admittedly, it took me a minute to take a step back and breathe and be like, okay, this is a good thing. Like, and so now I'll try to call them in, because now they're old enough, I can move it out to the garage and they could go and supervise inside the house for 30 minutes. But usually they do come out still, as you've seen to your point in my videos. They still come out. Sometimes they do it with me. Sometimes they're fighting about because they're
Yep.
siblings. But I have been a lot more, okay, as long as I get my heart rate, as long as I'm moving for 30 minutes, like that's my own personal goal. And sometimes it's only 20, but it is whenever you can do it. We have plans. We have to go somewhere. I didn't get it in earlier. Okay, I have 15 minutes. I want to move a little bit. It helps me, to your point, like mentally and all that. It's my mental sanity.
It does, but I mean, like, there is science behind it, right? Like, there's the natural endorphins that do come up, but then also for people, especially moms, the overwhelming anxiety, there's so much pent up cortisol in our body. And when we move, we are genuinely releasing it. And so absolutely advocate for it. Like, for anyone that's feeling more sluggish, it's almost like that you need to do the opposite of what you're feeling, even if it's just moving a little bit. And I promise you, your body starts to like really ramp up, start to feel better. And again, perfection is not the necessity here. Doing is all you need to just kind of push forward for.
Unless you're lifting weights, then yes, form has to be
perfection. Yes. You got to be a little bit more precise there. Okay. For sure. Absolutely. Slowly.
Right.
Yes. Tell me, because as we're talking about, you've got like the different variations of workouts. And so for moms that are wanting to start incorporating fitness in, what would you say would be a good like starter workout for them? What are some basic things? And I know you and I talked about like, we'll post a video later, but what does a workout look like in 15, 20 minutes for you?
If I'm doing a shorter workout like that, I like to just hit the cardio. Now, to what you were saying earlier, I like Tabata timers. I like a lot of HIIT style. So mine is going to reflect that. I used to like to run, but my knees don't like me running. So for example, I do a lot of like timer on for 40 seconds and then a rest for 20 seconds. So this one that I have was more of a cardio one, but without having to run. So it would be like starting off with 40 seconds of jogging in place and then a 20-second rest and then doing skaters. And then moving on to high knees and jump rope. I even throw in burpees in there, but there's lots of ways to modify it. I know people get scared of burpees, but there's a million ways to do it. Butt kickers is a good go-to. I like to do Heisman's, even like toe taps on stairs or, the sidewalk. Squat jumps, and I end with star jacks. But what I'll do is I'll set up, 5 to 10 moves, depending on the time that I have, and go through them 3 times. I'll cycle through them 3 times, and that'll be my workout. So some of it does involve weights, but I do have a lot of them that don't. Or if you don't have weights, you could still do the moves, because practicing form is extremely important when you do start incorporating weights. But for a short workout, I'll do something like that. Okay, I'm going to get my heart rate up as high as I can. Doing squat jumps will also help work those legs, even though you're not doing any weights, but you're compounding these movements that'll burn more going on. Like, it'll continue to burn for a while. And those are the ones that are my favorite to do when it's short periods of time. Okay, 15 minutes, I'm going to do a quick little cardio thing, or squats with a thrust. And again, I will, we could do a video later and post it up with this.
No, I think that we would love that. I think all of what you're talking about, I think is so great, because like it's the compound movements. It's like anything else in motherhood. If I can do anything compound, like get it all done in a shorter period of time, batch it all together, I think that that's so awesome. And I 100% agree with what you're talking about, like there's so many different variations of things. And I think that one of the things that people need to get their brain like mindset around is that, you can start small. And even with what you were talking about, like the different rounds, I know when I first started back to getting into whatever I could for fitness, when I first had my first son, one round. If I could get one round done just for that day, great. And then progress up as I need to, because even though movements that you were talking about, like really drains you, like just even that
It
one
does.
round. And so once you start getting your body just kind of warmed up to it, and then you just kind of build from there. And I think that's constantly what I'm thinking about with fitness is like, just
Absolutely.
start somewhere and then you can always progress up. And whether it's
And
with
it's
time, whether it's with reps, whatever it is.
yes. And it's as simple as even walking. For the
Yeah.
longest time, I didn't know where to start. Again, I started my fitness journey when I was pregnant, which is you're not supposed to be starting when you're I mean, again, I remember the doctor telling me like, okay, just don't do any like new crazy moves, you know. But it started with just walking, you know. Okay,
Yeah.
put her in the stroller, go for a walk. Babies love to sleep during that time anyways when they're that
Uh-huh.
small. And
Mhm.
so, okay, it was going for a 30-minute walk, and we got a dog, and that helped a lot because you have to take the dog for a walk 2 or 3 times
Yeah.
a day. And it was starting with those small little movements. And then afterwards, I'm like, man, I feel good. I could do a little bit more. Okay, I'm going to try
Yep.
doing this. I am completely 100% self-taught, just my own research, my own what makes me feel better and wanting to spread that joy with everybody else. Because I personally think that for moms, I'm so glad. The reason I joined your group is because I think it's fantastic that you have an outlet to break these stereotypes
Yeah.
that we live
Totally.
in. And self-care was not one of them. Self-care was at the very back of the bus, and everything else was you have to take care of everybody else and be on your A game and look your best at all times. And it's too much. If I'm taking care of everybody else to the point on where I'm drowning, I am no good to anybody. I
Exactly.
need to
It
be
starts with
right
you.
here to take care of everybody else. And I think that's the shift that needs to happen nowadays. And I feel like it's finally starting to happen slowly,
Agreed.
but it still needs a lot of work. There's a lot of
Yeah.
mom guilt. Admittedly so. I mean, I suffer from mom guilt all the time and have to
Mhm.
remind myself, like, it's okay to be now if I'm taking 2 hours and at the gym and, you know, not to say that that's wrong either. You got to do what's best for you. Like that
Right.
time frame doesn't work for my family. If you're able to do it because there's childcare, kudos.
Go
Like,
for
and
it.
your kids love going,
100%.
yeah,
Yep.
go for whatever makes you feel great
Yeah.
in that sense. So
I think so with what you're talking about. So I'm going to bridge this to what I was just actually having a conversation with my younger son about is like feeling bad, like the guilt that we
yes,
feel. And we're going to feel it. Like, I 100% agree with you. Like, there's never going to be a pure, never feeling guilty. And we don't want that. And why I was talking about this with my son was that guilt is there to have you check yourself a little bit. And that's what you're talking about right now is let me check it. Let me see if it's like grounded in any reality or truth. And if it's not, because I've got, the babysitter at home, I'm not really doing this all the time. But if I do
right.
a 2-hour workout, 2-3 times a week, if that makes sense, okay, guilt, I see you, I feel you, I'm going to push you aside and go do my thing. I'm going to bring my guilt with me, but I'm going to not let it overtake me. Whereas on the flip
Right.
side of it, right, we need to look at that feeling and we need to check to see, do I actually need to change what I'm doing? Is there something here that's feeling a bit more off balance? Am I spending 7 days a week doing 2 hours
Right.
and I really am not getting the things done that I really want to, or that I do feel like I'm not giving my kids attention, or the house is like a total S show,
Right.
like
Right.
your guilt needs to be there to say,
It does.
let's put a little bit of
Reevaluate.
check there,
Right.
right? Reevaluate 100%. And so, yeah, totally. I think that like you're talking about, there's so many different elements here where emotions will show up. We've got to reassess them, but don't take them at face value, like kind of check in with them. And the other thing that you have brought up quite a few times that I think is an important aspect here is support, community, and accountability. I think that piece is, it's so under recognized, like
Yes.
how much, like, moms, yes, ask for help, ask for family, ask for friends, like
Always.
you need to, don't feel like you need to be in this alone. And it doesn't have to stop with just the people in your circle. And I think that's what you and I are doing with our groups, right? With the Reinventing Motherhood group, with Fierce, it's all about building out community. And that's how we met through San Diego Mom Squad. You know,
love it.
we're constantly building community and accountability to say, check your thoughts, check your motivation, check your mindset. And what's beautiful about it is you've got this whole community of people that are out there cheering you on. And I think that that's what I love about your group with Fierce, especially with fitness, you know, like just there's so much out there that there's so much research around the need for that accountability. It just helps us to propel forward. It's not that we always have to have it, but I think that there is some element of helping to progress forward quicker when you have that accountability. So I think it's always nice to connect with those kind of groups like that.
Right. And then you have like-minded people or who have the same aspirations and desires that you have as well. And that's another form that you could connect on, right? Like it can do so much. I'm all about trying to surround myself with positive people am I going to agree with everybody on everything? No, but I don't want to, because I'm trying to be open-minded and I want to hear all sides and everything. But I know that I have this in common, or I have that over here, or whatever it may be. And they just slowly start to fill this cup that help in all aspects. It's really a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I think with what you're talking about, like people having different opinions and, you know, us maybe not always aligning on all of the same things. I think the flip side of that too, though, sometimes is that because when we are too rigid with being with like just exactly the same, you also don't get this growth that you're talking about, like that we're constantly learning from each other and checking ourselves again to see like, oh, how are you doing it? Oh, I can try that on. Doesn't mean it has to be the right way for me, but I've tried my way and it's not working. So maybe I'll try this person's. And I think that that really works really well. And then you find kind of these wonderful tips and tricks and see what works. And you don't have to feel like you're, again, that you're alone and that you're drowning alone. So it's
right, because that's
a
big part of motherhood. Unfortunately, in the beginning, you were, at least I will speak for myself, I was so laser focused on trying to this new work schedule of mine and trying to figure out how to do all the things that I kind of lost it for a second there and had to wait a second. I feel, where did all my friends go? What happened to things and joining things like San Diego Mom Group, all those things. Like I was able to then kind of venture out and okay, I'm not alone. We all kind of got tunnel vision for a little bit, and now we're here to open and expand. And it's just been this incredible thing, but it really truly comes back to just constantly reassessing, rechecking, rebalancing ourselves.
Yes. Yep. And absolutely.
And going from there. Yeah.
So just to kind of close our little conversation out here, just given all of what you've talked about, what would you say is the most important aspect of learning for you in motherhood? What would be your like top advice to give to a new mom or some mom that's struggling?
With struggling and with fitness in general, like, are we going on the fitness aspect or just
fitness?
Okay. So I think you had mentioned this earlier, is that your body wants to do the exact opposite. You're tired, you want to sit down and you want to sleep. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm all about being in tune with your body and focusing on what it needs. So if you're tired and you need to sleep, yes, you need to sleep. But once the doctor gives the all clear and you're feeling like you have a little bit more energy, but you're trying to find it hard to get motivated, the best advice I would say is just baby steps. Give yourself a goal. Like, my biggest thing is, why are you doing this? Yes. What is your end game? If your why is good, and this can transfer to almost all aspects of life, but why do you want to get into fitness? Why do you want to exercise? Why do you want to eat healthy? Are you doing it for yourself, for your child? All of those reasons are good, but know your why, commit to your why, understand your why, and your why could change over time. too. Just because what you had in the beginning, my why in the beginning was to lose the baby weight.
Yeah.
Realistically, that was my why. And then it became so much more. But once you have your solid foundation of your why, that should be enough, hopefully, motivation to continue to at least start one day. Pick what tomorrow I am going to walk for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And start there. Okay, cool. I did it for the today. Go day by day. Maybe, don't do it every day. Do it every other day. Make it a goal of minimum of 2 times a week to start, then a minimum of 3 times a week, and slowly start to, as we talked about earlier, move up your plan. But it's got to start somewhere. And if you need accountability, I am here for you. Find me on Facebook, link up on my fears, whatever you need. It's truly a passion of mine. I just want to help people help be them best selves and do whatever they need to do to get there. So I will cheer you on. I'll be your biggest cheerleader.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it because I think exactly what you were just talking about, that big why is so important because there needs to be intentionality around what we're doing, or else again, our body is not going to be reinforced to do it. If there's not a really good reason that we have some kind of goal, then it's not really going to feel, it's just going to feel like we're going through the motions. And so who wants to do that? There needs to be a reason why we're trying to get there. But I think the other piece that you're talking about right now that is so powerful is exactly what you're talking about with the accountability, with the cheerleading, having the people around you that can be like, you can do this. I love it. Let's keep going, and if you can't, that's okay too. Get up again tomorrow,
Yes.
So I think that again, we keep going back to like flexibility, like breaking from extreme perfection, being able to kind of see what works for you, but start small and then continue to grow. And
make them manageable changes. Yes.
Totally. So, Kari, you mentioned it a couple times. Tell us exactly how to connect with you, to get connected into Fierce, connect with you, just to like see your smiling and energetic face. What's the best ways to connect with you?
Well, I am on Instagram. It's at Caring More. So it's KARING when the _ more. And on Facebook, I'm just Kari Bazan Cirolia. And from there, I can help get you to my group, but it is Fierce. So there are the periods in between. So it's the F.I is spelling out Fierce, where you will find me, and my name should be all connected there. But those 2 social media platforms are probably the best ways to get in contact with me. And like I said, I'm more than willing. I will tell you what works best for me. And again, be your biggest cheerleader, because I have skipped those days. I haven't wanted to do it every single day, and that's okay. And I think at times too, we need people to tell us that it's okay.
Permission, 100%.
Yes. Like we don't have to do it every single day. There are those days, but overall, it's the consistency in general. And if you're mostly consistent with it, you will see the results you want to see mentally, physically, health-wise, whatever it may be.
I love that. I love it. I love the permission that we want to give ourselves, but if we can't give ourselves that permission, the accountability and kind of the voice of reason that you can get from people like you, in my group as well, we kind of, it's similar, it's this kind of that breaking those mentalities of these very rigid beliefs, reassessing constantly, being flexible, community. It's all out there as long as you're willing to seek it out. And so, I want to appreciate, of course, the time. I love that you and I were talking about this right before, we started to record here, but mom life, you're in your car, you're doing your thing,
My home office.
And we fit everything in that matters to us, and we are flexible with it. And so, Kari, I really appreciate all of what you offer your community, what you've offered here, and I'm looking forward to that workout because I definitely utilize yours when I'm needing those quick little bursts. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. I hope that people get good positive vibes out of this, and just and start your own journey, or if you need help continuing it,
Yeah, absolutely. We will connect again very soon.
Yes.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you.